On Triple M, my name's Holly. You're listening to Rural Focus, a bit of tonic right there. We're chatting to Tania Cecconi. She's the lead partner for WA for Perpetual. Tania, good morning.
Good morning, Holly. Thank you for having me. Delighted to be here.
Great to have you on. We want to talk all things financial confidence and planning for women in regional communities. So, to kick things off, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at Perpetual?
Yeah, thank you. Like you've identified, I'm the lead partner for Perpetual in WA. So I work with a team of financial advisors. We work with individuals, families, and farming clients right across regional WA. And our role is really about helping people plan with confidence, whether that's succession, retirement, or long-term financial security. What's interesting to note, if you don't mind me sharing, is that we've recently launched Advice for Women by Women. And at Perpetual, it was really interesting when I joined the company 2.5 years ago that just over 50% of our clients were women. And that's because many of them have outlived their partner. So a big focus now for our team is giving our clients a choice to work with women and men as advisors, where traditionally it's mostly been men giving men other advice.
You make a really good point there. And women in our regional and rural communities, we face a different set of challenges. It's a little bit unique. So, Tanya, from your perspective, what are some of those challenges when it comes to finances in particular?
I think one of the biggest things is, more broadly, and I think Triple R does has a really good understanding of what those issues are. But our financial services, we know, are city-centric. All the things that we take for granted in the city, the complete opposite, faced by, your audience. But from a wealth perspective, much of the wealth is tied up in farm businesses, family businesses, small businesses, where superannuation is an afterthought. You pay everyone else first and you pay yourself last. Another big challenge we see is how to extract wealth from a farming business or a small family business to support retirement, a change in circumstances, maybe due to ill health or, due to a marriage breakdown, in a way that doesn't diminish the ongoing viability of that business for future generations, but at the same time ensuring that the next phase of that person's life is literally afforded dignity and respect.
Yeah, exactly. And we know a lot of that wealth in the farming families you mentioned there. It's tied up in the land. So what should people be thinking about if they are looking to step away from the farm but just don't really have off-farm assets?
Look, like you say, Holly, it's really incredibly common. So I suppose what people that we help people understand is that when they do step back, what do they need? Is it income, capital, or support? The earlier families start to think about how retirement will be funded beyond the farm itself, the more options that they tend to have. So we work really closely with their lawyers, their accountants, many of whom have long-standing relationships. But at the end of the day, what we provide is whole of life financial advice from cradle to grave. We don't just give investment advice. So we just ensure that clients feel informed and confident about the decisions that they can really rely on to shape their future and that of their families.
So it feels like, you're on their side. And one thing we talk about a lot on this show is succession planning and how to bring that up with your family, finances, family dynamics, the security of the farm. So do you have any advice on how families can start having those conversations, but also sort of making sure that their retirement is being looked after?
Look, I want to acknowledge how tricky those conversations can be. So I just want to acknowledge that. And nevertheless, it works best when it's treated as both as a financial and a family conversation. So she needs a seat at the table, right? Everyone needs a seat at the table because everyone's perspective is equally valid. So a really important step is really separating what the next generation needs to run the farm from what the current generation needs to retire securely. So we know that, that a lot of these farms and businesses are, multi-generational, geographically isolated. So leaving these conversations too late can really limit choices. Starting early with a trusted advisor with clear expectations and good advice can really reduce pressure and protect relationships as well for the long term.
And you mentioned earlier the Triple R network, the Rural Regional Remote Women's Network of WA. You guys are a member and big supporters of this, so looking after our women in regional areas. And when you're working with women out here, what are the common financial pressures or concerns that seem to keep coming up at the moment?
The most common question we hear is, will I be okay? So we
Mm.
know that women worry about retirement security, access to funds, if situation or circumstances change, what happens if the unexpected occurs, like if a partner gets sick. So the concern is understandable, particularly when so much wealth is tied up in illiquid assets like land, and women historically haven't been able to access any of that. And it doesn't make sense to bring up, to break up a farm of scale, right? So